Hey, Glix, can you try to start up the Impossibility Drive again?
Hey, Glix, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to get the taco machine set it to Fiesta because I feel like we need to have a party.
Oh, hey, have you inputted into the theme for Geekmas this year?
Hey, Glix, do me a quick favor. I need some more anime. Can you fire up the Crunchyroll because we need some more anime going on in the system here.
Dallas. Cellist. Please. System command queue is full. We are overloaded. Please give me a moment to prioritize commands. Opening combs to devoted geeks while in process.
Okay, what is happening here?
Where are we?
Glix, give us a situation report.
Currently, we are on the planet Geekery. Be warned, our Impossibility Drive may cause distortions as we traverse this land. Impending impossibility engaging in 3, 2, 1.
Comms are now open to Devoted Geeks. Hello, Devoted Geeks. Welcome to Comm Talk, the podcast extension of Geek Devotions. This is episode 64. Super excited about it. And hey, we just want you guys to know that you are loved. No matter what's going on in your life, we love you. I'm Dallas, if you're new, and also with me, as always, is
Celeste. As you listen to this podcast, please give us feedback on Apple Podcasts and other podcast catchers, as well as checking out our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and website. Also the YouTubes.
Yes, also the YouTubes. This is actually, ironically, we're talking about priorities and handling issues, and this is our second time doing this today because Take two because we had some issues.
Glix is fritzing over there.
I know, right? So Glix is a little out of order right now. We just overloaded it. And so we thought we'd take the opportunity to talk about overload, talk about priorities, talk about knowing your limits of what you can and can't do. And so that's kind of what we're going to be doing today. If you guys haven't been around very long, Celeste and I, it's been a rough year for us.
Yeah. And
we hit kind of a wall. And it was because we didn't know our margins, or we didn't know our limits.
Yeah.
We didn't have our priorities. We had our priorities set to a degree. So let's talk about what happened. How did this happen to us where we just kind of hit a brick wall?
Well, I think some of it started with we had some issues with family members earlier in the year, which everyone knows about. But then we ended up doing 2 cons in 3 weeks, and your birthday was in between.
Yes.
Your birthday was fun. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy celebrating your life, but
good.
We've learned some valuable things because while we were doing things we'd never done before, we went and spoke at a con. We got to meet some great people in real life that we had only talked to before. We got to meet Josh and Erica, Victims and Villain. We got to meet Chuck Balsamo. We got to meet Pastor Susie and all of the awesome people over at God Squad Church. So I mean, but there were some things that we could have done better. I think we overestimated how much we could handle.
Right. I think that's the best way of saying that is we overestimated what we can handle. We didn't understand our limits. In the midst of it, things kind of fell apart. Our podcasts fell apart for a little bit because we didn't understand our limits.
Yes.
We had the Superman District planned out. We were going to bank it out. And
we're supposed to be done with that in March.
Right. And in the Superman District, we understood that, what we've come to the revelation of through the Superman District is that it's hard for us to do reviews on series.
Yes.
Like, I enjoy doing a review, and I enjoy talking about TV series and everything, but if it's something where we're like, okay, we're going to review an entire series, we ran into issues. We started off with the Max Fleischer Superman, and we banged that out pretty easy because they're short. But when we got to like normal TV series, we're like, we can't watch 4 seasons, 12 seasons of a series. There are 8 episodes or an hour-long episode at a piece. It's like, okay, we'll work it out. We'll only do 6 episodes of the series. But even then, we struggled because like it's easy for you and I to go, okay, we're gonna sit down and watch a movie.
Yeah.
But doing the series, it's like we have so much going on.
And when you cut it off to the 5 to 6 episodes, you're not taking into account the growth of the show. Like Smallville got much better as it went. I was trying to remember if that was the case.
And then you have some series that just got worse as they went.
Well, I'm so glad we did not have to watch all of Superboy.
Oh, yes, Lord. So we had these things take place. And we learned about our limits.
Yeah.
What we can and can't handle. And I think that's a key. That was a key thing with what we were struggling with, is we didn't know our limits.
Yeah.
With the cons, we discovered that we really need the day after we get back from the con to decompress, to kind of get a step forward and get some of the work done on the back end, because we do stuff on the back end of cons.
Yeah.
It became a process for us where we were really struggling.
Yes.
And then again, we realized movies are better than series for us. It's just a lot more work for us.
It's a lot easier to handle. If we're going to do a series, it needs to be one that's current, that we're already invested in watching.
Exactly. So the question becomes this, because some people are listening, okay, why are we listening to this conversation? What's the point of this conversation? Well, the point is that it's important for you to prioritize and to understand your limits. But why? Why is it important for us to have those? Celeste, what are your thoughts on why is it important for us to know our limits and to prioritize things in our lives?
Well, I think if you know your limits, then you will be able to go, no, I can't do that. And not necessarily feel guilty about it, because you know it's past what you can handle.
Right.
You're not saying no because you're being mean. You're not saying no because you don't want to do it. You're saying no because you know if you do that you're not going to be giving your best to whatever you're doing, and you're not going to be giving your best to your responsibilities you already have.
Right.
And as far as prioritizing, it's important to prioritize so that if you need to wiggle stuff around, say you have an unexpected family issue, say, a dear friend of yours needs you, then you have to be able to go, okay, what can I drop to go handle this?
Right.
What is the priority that needs to be handled so that I can go handle this issue?
Exactly. Because if we don't have these things situated, man, it becomes so rough.
It does.
You and I, we were tired for months on end.
Oh my gosh.
And because we hadn't prioritized, because we didn't know our limits of what we could and couldn't handle.
Yeah. We did not legitimately know that we needed the day afterwards to decompress, to be able to figure things out. I think we kind of had an inkling, but we've never done GeekCon like that. We always just go in, we do it, we come home, we chill, and then we go on about our business. Going out of town is a whole another issue.
Right. So we had that issue. So we were just tired. We were frustrated. And then we ran into the issue of as life, because we had issues with life. We had issues with not understanding our boundaries. We just got further and further behind. I related it to like this. It's like the accordion effect or the accordion effect on the highway. When you're driving along, person A puts the pump on the brakes, person B does theirs, C, D, all the way back. Well, it takes a while for everybody to pick up back up on the speed because person A goes, okay, cool, puts up speed. Person B takes a second to register what's happening. Goes, okay, safe for me. Then they go. So it takes a while for the traffic to keep going, and that's what happened in our life. Yeah. It we had to hit a brake on something, and then it kind of got compounded, and then another thing happened, and we got compounded. It took another thing, another compounded, and so we've been slowly working through the process of kind of undoing the accordion. Yeah. But it's been a rough thing. We've had stress. We've had frustrations. I mentioned to you before, for me, it's like, when I can't get stuff done for the show and for our life, I feel like I've let you down. I've let down the devoted geeks. Depending on what we're doing, I feel like I've let the Lord down in some fashion, because I've like, man, how did I allow this to happen in my life? And ironically, at SquadCon, we were talking about how to set priorities, following your passion and setting your priorities. And I think, though, and we're going to talk about this later, it would have been much worse for us if we hadn't set priorities already. Yeah. If we didn't have that set in place. We, in the last one, the one that got lost, in the Superman district, we never missed a Friday. Yeah. We always uploaded our devotion. Our podcast was
non-existent. Our extra Tuesdays were kind of spotty. The Bible study and pray and play was a little more regular, but that one's kind of hit and miss anyway, because if we have something come up that we need to take care of, we will cancel that one more readily than we will anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
it's just more flexible in nature. But I mean, our priority was the Friday devotion. We handled that. We made sure that was happening. Right.
And that was part of our priority, because we're like, for us, the Friday devotion, that's our thing for the Lord, obviously. Yeah. It's the primary ministry for us, is that Friday devotion. And so we just couldn't sacrifice that for you and I. We're like, we have to do this. This is a non-negotiable on our priority. Yeah. And so because we had our priorities set in place, that didn't suffer. No. And we haven't missed one in 3.5 years. almost 4 years.
Almost 4 years.
And so it's been a challenge.
Yeah.
But we did that. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how we set priorities, how we recognize limits, and how all this works together, and maybe some tips for you guys. We'll encourage you, as you listen to it, really pay attention and take some notes of yourself. And if you have some suggestions on how to prioritize things, leave comments and let us know. Okay. So Absolutely. Here is our commercial break.
Hi, I'm Francisco from the Retro Rewind podcast. And as always, I'm joined by...
I'm Paul J. Powers, and they call me the Master Interrupter.
Yeah, I wonder why.
It doesn't matter, because you're listening to Comm Talk.
Comms returning to normal stasis in 3, 2, 1.
All right, and we're back. Thank you guys so much for taking time to listen to that commercial from our friends at Retro Rewind Podcast, which, by the way, I've made a priority to make it a guest appearance on their show, talking about Batman Returns here in a few weeks.
Because he's Batman.
Because I'm Batman. And so I'm always excited to talk about Batman. And so I'm going to be on their show. Check them out. RetroRewindPodcast.com is their website. You find them on all your favorite podcast catchers.
We don't know which number podcast it's going to be yet.
We don't know. But check them out on Twitch also. Retro Rewind Pod is their Twitch page. Great podcast. Great group of guys. Love them to death. Love them to death. To the death. I don't know why I'm saying death so much.
To the pain.
To the pain. But yeah, so Francisco and Paul, we love you guys so much. So let's continue this conversation, Celeste, with the action step of this whole aspect. Yeah. How do we prioritize things? How do we recognize our limits? And where do we go? So, Celeste, for you, how do you identify your priorities?
So, just in general life, my priorities are God, you and me, church, right. And then Geek Devotions, and then everything else. Like, that's just how I have things laid out. And don't get me wrong, that does not... It occurred to me later after we were talking about this that kind of sounds like you're not taking care of yourself in all of that. But if I'm taking care of my relationship with God, I'm taking care of myself.
Yeah.
If I'm taking care of my relationship with you, I'm taking care of myself. You're it's all aspects.
Yeah.
So I don't want to make that, nothing
I get that.
about the other about you,
yourself,
about the other person.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not going to selfishly put myself in there. So just throwing that out there for clarity's sake.
Good plan.
But yeah. So that would be my list of priorities.
Right. So the question is, why are those your priorities? Like, why have you established that sequence?
So the reason I've established that sequence is kind of what I was saying a minute ago. If my relationship with God is good, I am a much saner person. Like, I'm less likely to go off the deep end.
Right.
If my relationship with you is good, then I know that we have a good marriage. Like, if I'm putting in the effort to make our relationship good. You don't have to worry about things.
Right.
We're cool. We laugh.
We do laugh.
A lot. Mostly at ourselves.
You're right. I am happy about the fact that there's not a day that goes by that we don't make each other laugh some fashion.
Oh my gosh. People just wouldn't believe us.
Right. Absolutely. So, all right. So in establishing these things, again, it's a build us being healthy, obviously.
Yeah.
But it also helps us when we have these priorities to set margins in our lives. So there's wiggle room for things. And I forget years ago I was in some sort of like leadership meeting or something like that, and they're talking about priorities, and they had like the jar. I'm sure most of you guys have seen this illustration or heard it. You got a big old jar, and you got a variety of items. You got several big things, small things, and whatnot. And if you try cramming in all the small stuff first and then the big stuff, you're never going to get everything in. But you put in the big stuff first, then the slightly smaller stuff, and you shake it in. And then at the end, you can pour in all the small stuff, and everything then fits in your life. Why? Because you've created the margins at the appropriate times. The priorities allow you to do that. So us doing that, we've created priorities, what we are and aren't going to do, created some space, creating non-negotiables, things that we're just not going to sacrifice.
Yeah.
This will be what we do. Like when we went on vacation, quotation marks, when we went to Virginia for SquadCon.
Yeah, we went to SquadCon.
Our priority, even though we're at a Christian conference, was to go to church.
Yeah.
And that was great for us.
It really was, because it gave us, SquadCon was put on by a church, so there was a lot of Jesus in that room. But we went with the intention of serving. We went with the intention of being there to serve God Squad Church.
Right.
When we went to church, we were going there for Celeste and Dallas.
Right.
Not for Geek Devotions.
Exactly. It was a necessity for us to be built up. And I think that we would have been worse off if we hadn't done that, to be honest. Gosh. So that's all part of it, is understanding your non-negotiables and working them out. And then that allows the margins where if something comes up, we can handle it.
Yeah.
And again, understanding what we can and can't handle. I think that when you create margins, you can pick up some stuff that maybe you wouldn't normally be able to handle and it'd be okay. But if we don't have the margins, if we haven't prioritized things in our lives, everything will fall apart.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like we try to set aside one night a week where we're not recording, we're not filming anything, we're not doing anything with the church. Now, sometimes that gets muddled because, events.
Right.
But we always try to keep one night.
Right.
And it's always nice. It's not nice when something comes up, but when something comes up, we always know, well, we're not doing anything this night, so we can do this in this moment.
Exactly.
As long as it does not become a regular thing.
Exactly. Trying to honor that aspect of life. And so, and I think this plays out because some people are like, well, I'm not married. That's fine.
That's okay.
You need to still prioritize your life and stuff like that. God still comes first. It's just that you don't have a spouse to prioritize. We mentioned this last time we recorded this, obviously. Your kids are not I hate saying this. It sounds weird. They're not the main priority.
They are a priority.
They're a priority. Not the main. Your spouse goes above your kids 100% because your kids are going to move out. But you structure your life around these things. And so it's God first, and then you and that relationship, how that works out, the church, the body of Christ, and everything else. And when we have these things in alignment, everything just sort of flows much better. Not that life is easy,
right? But
it's more manageable.
Now, I will say this: kids would come before the church.
I can see that, but
not before spouse or God.
You're right, exactly. And again, some people like well, but God is the church. Well, there's some interesting aspects in play there.
Yeah,
of how that works out and how you handle that. And so it's one of those things. So.
You don't have to be at every single solitary event to be in a good relationship with God. Sometimes that actually hinders.
Right. At the same time, you do need to be there. I mean,
and be involved.
When you and I have kids, I don't foresee us missing any Wednesdays or Sundays when service is happening, when we're doing stuff, because it's important. It's important. So for you guys listening, our challenge, our encouragement is to sit down and prioritize your life.
Yeah.
Write down what it is that you prioritize, like what's important to you, and then find out what's non-negotiable for you.
Right. Because spending time with you is non-negotiable. I know that sounds weird, but it's a necessity. At least talking to you, at least for 5 minutes a day. Sometimes we're busy, we're together, but we're not together. We're doing stuff. We're not really talking to each other. If we don't take a moment to connect, then I feel like that day hasn't been productive, even if it has.
Right. I get that. I really do. So sit down, guys. Prioritize. What's priority to you? and then prioritize the priorities.
Yeah.
And then lay it on a schedule, map it out. We've had to do that. We've arranged our entire schedule recently with Geek Devotions, even just how we do this show.
It's throwing us a little bit for a loop.
A little bit for a loop.
But that's okay. It's a good loop.
I kept saying Tuesday night Bible study when it's our Thursday night Bible study now.
I heard you.
But it's so much better on Thursdays for us.
It is. Because then because the way our schedule works, because you are on staff at our church, Sundays are not generally days of rest for us. Like, don't get me wrong, they are good, but they're not terribly restful. And so by moving Bible study to later in the week, we then make sure that Monday or Tuesday is an evening where we can rest.
Right. Absolutely. So, not a terribly geeky podcast.
No.
But I think it's one of necessity for everyone listening. As geeks, we get really involved in things, and we are trying to do this and that. We want to be involved in, every aspect. I remember when I was collecting comic books on a much more regular basis, I had to put a stop to things because I had books that were coming out 4 times a month.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't keep up with all this. So I had to prioritize.
Looking at you, Spider-Man.
Right.
Looking at you.
So I had to prioritize even what I collected and didn't collect.
Yeah.
And then I had to go, okay, I have to prioritize other things like bills over my comics. And so we had to pump the brakes on those a little bit. We have to be willing to make adjustments in life.
Yeah. We have to even prioritize our bills.
Yeah.
Because there are some bills that if crap hits the fan, they will be gone. Like, we will cancel.
Exactly. Looking at you, Netflix. Hulu, DC Universe,
cable. Not the cable. We don't actually have cable, but the internet.
Right, exactly. So yeah, guys, that's our podcast. So, Glix is smoking in the corner.
Oh God, Glix.
So we better wrap this up. So quick announcements for everybody. We have an exciting series of podcasts coming.
Yes.
It's gonna be once a month. Me and our dear friend Carlos Renfro of Healing Truth Ministries, we're going to be kind of combining forces, and we're going to be talking about a 3-part series of comics coming out called Superman versus the Klan, or Superman Smashes the Klan. And this is based off of a 1950s radio drama where Superman actually faces off against the Ku Klux Klan, and it's really interesting. Carlos, being African American, it's going to be bringing a very interesting perspective to things. It's going to be. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I think it's going to be healthy as we talk through the themes of the comics and just the expanse of it.
Yes, I greatly appreciate Carlos's opinion on a lot of things. He's a very insightful person.
Exactly.
And so he is fun to talk to on a regular basis.
He is. Also coming up in December, I'm going to be recording a podcast with Victims and Villains, Josh Berkey. We're going to be talking about Identity Crisis, which is a really interesting comic book. It's one of the DC Crisis moments, but this one, it's dealing with some domestic violence and abuse and rape that takes place. It's intense. Are
you going to be okay?
I've been working through it.
Okay.
I've been working through it. It's hard to read.
Okay.
It was a kind of a sucker punch.
Those are things that Dallas just can't do. So our last announcement for the podcast, and then we've really got to attend to the android that's smoking in the corner, is that we are having the Devoted Geek Chef competition in the Devoted Geek Life.
So excited about this.
So you need to go onto Facebook, try to join our group, answer the questions, or you won't be let in.
If you don't answer the question, we don't let you in, period. That's just the way it is.
No. And then do that. We will be making a post here in the very near future outlining the rules. But the basics is that you take your leftovers from Thanksgiving and you make a dish somehow geeky. And someone has to eat it to prove that you don't kill them.
Right. We're excited about it. We did this a couple years ago.
So good.
It was so much fun. It was such a fun event. So we're hoping to do that. And hopefully you guys enjoy this event too. All right. Well, that's pretty much it. So we just want to say thank you guys so much for taking time to listen to this podcast. If you liked or enjoyed it, feel free to head over to Apple Podcast and leave a review. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please comment. Let us know what you think of it. Hit that like button that's there. And share this out. Share this podcast with others. And again, like we said earlier, if you have any insight maybe on how to prioritize things in your life and how to understand your limits, guys, let us know. Leave comments. especially here on YouTube, if you're on YouTube, the YouTube side of things, because then somebody could read your comments and be like, man, that I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
And you might change their life with your comments.
Makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, that being said, until 2 Sundays. 2 Sundays?
Not this Sunday, but the next.
Yes, not this Sunday, but the next. Stay devoted.
Peace and love.